A distracted driver changed Graham Walters' life forever when she decided to pick up her phone, leaned over to show her son where the speaker was on the phone, and it's that moment of distraction that caused her to veer over the road and collide with Graham. He's lucky to have survived. He's now paraplegic with no movement below the waist, no longer able to walk, and joins us now. Graham, good morning and thank you for taking the call.
Yeah, good morning.
So, Graham, you were actually just days away from flying over to Europe to tackle a gruelling cycling event when your accident recurred. Is that correct?
That is correct. I was 8 days out from participating in the Haute Route Alps, which is an 8-day cycle challenge.
Do you remember what happened? What can you tell us?
I don't remember the accident specifically. The first memory I have is being on the road and crossing it to turn around to go back up Old Settlement Road.
Okay, so what was the follow on from there, Graham? I mean, you didn't see the driver veering towards you, any of that?
No, I was heading in the same direction as the driver. I had no indication from what I can remember of any car coming near me. There were a few cars, I believe, I've been told, had already gone past me because the driver was actually in a group of about 5 or 6 cars. The car behind had actually backed off, I've been told, because he realised the driver in front of him, which is the one that hit me, had started veering a little bit left and right, and he could actually see that she was probably going to hit me at some stage.
And what were the consequences for the driver, Graham?
The driver, she was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, but that was suspended, and also disqualified from driving for 3 years.
Did she seem remorseful, Graham?
Look, yes, I believe she was. She was crying while we were in the court while I was giving my impact speech. Whether that was real or not, I haven't spoken to the driver. The driver hasn't come or approached me to apologise. I do give recognition to her father. Her father approached me and apologised for what had happened. But, I still haven't had that personal contact with her.
Now, you talked about the impact statement that you read out. What have been some of the hardest things for you since the accident?
The hardest thing, being able to stand and cuddle my wife. The little things like walking on the sand, holding hands, like going for a walk with the dogs in the afternoon with her. Just being able to be the husband I was for her and my family. They are the things that really, really I struggle with every day. And
clearly an impact on them too, Graham.
Oh, absolutely. My wife has struggled from day one because of it. She's seeking counselling at the moment. She's also, struggles each day with how I am. She's tired, she's fatigued, she's doing a lot more around the home than she should be doing. There are things that I would normally do now she's doing.
Graham, what reaction did you have when you found out the circumstances that this was a question of being distracted by a mobile phone?
Oh, absolutely livid, angry. I wanted to put it, I'm sorry I have to say this, but I actually wanted retribution. But you see it every day. Being a cyclist, you get cars going by and you see them on phones. They're not hiding it. They've got them up to their ears. They've got them in their laps. They're forever. It's an addiction. They just don't see that. It's something that I question every day. Even now when I'm driving, there's drivers on their phones. And one day I had a driver on the side and I pulled my window down, asked them to get off their phone. They actually told me to mind my business. Yeah.
So, Graham, obviously part of what we're doing here today is try and making everyone who is listening to this question their own behaviour within the car. However, what changes do you think should happen to try and affect the culture of people using their mobile phones while driving and not thinking much of it, as you're just describing there?
Well, first of all, I believe that the phone companies, Apple, Google, and so forth, should be able to put into their phone systems where you, instead of having to log in and deactivate the phone to not call or not identify text messages or Facebook or something like that, that it should be the other way around, where you have to go in to activate the phone. And we understand that Apple and Google have that technology to do that. They have the technology to put in their phones the ability to sense movement and therefore deactivate the phone at the same time. Also, education of people, like they do with the alcohol, what they do with the drugs. And also, I understand New South Wales are looking at legislation to putting in cameras that identify phone users. And on top of that, the law system must act aggressively towards these people to find them where it hurts, to give them sentences where it hurts, so they understand that what they're doing could be the death or the injury or the maim of people like myself.
And well, does it seem to you out of whack, Graham, the kind of, I'll utilise the word punishment, but the kind of penalty, I guess, that comes from perhaps causing something like this to occur if you were driving under the influence of alcohol compared to utilising a mobile phone?
Oh, look, absolutely. There's research out there that says it's even worse than having alcohol on board, that you're distracted by a phone, looking at your Facebook, looking at your text messages, head down, chin down. I get around the streets in my wheelchair. I'm the one having to move to the left, to the right, stop, because people have got their heads in their phones, even on the sidewalk. It's an addiction. It's an epidemic. We really do need to educate people that you just can't do that. And to look at the other side, if I was on my phone and I injured someone, how do I cope with that? Or kill somebody in my own family because they were in my car because I got on the phone.
Well, Graham, I really appreciate you telling us your story. I'm going to now bring Klaus into the conversation. So thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we'll get some people heading towards your change petition now.
Oh, look, I hope so. Thank you guys for giving us some airtime. It's really appreciated.
Anytime. Graham Walters there, who is living with those consequences of a distracted driver because of a mobile phone on a daily basis. And he spoke a little of the impact that has on not just him, but his family, his wider family, and his friends, one of whom we have with us now, Klaus Bartosch, who's a friend of Graham's, a cycler, previously in the same cycling team as Klaus and Graham. And Klaus can give us some insight into what Graham was talking about in terms of the technology that can potentially help out in this situation. Klaus, good morning. Klaus, good morning.
Yeah, hello.
Oh, hello, Klaus. Good. So, look, Graham did begin to talk about the idea that some of the big entities such as Apple with iPhones and Google with their Android system have technology that could help in this scenario. Can you take us through how it looks?
Yeah, look, that's exactly right. I mean, as you know, we already now, thanks to our addiction to mobile phones, have driverless cars, and that's a huge problem that Graham's been talking about. Today already, though, in both Android smartphones and Apple smartphones, there's a feature that exists that allows you to enable your device to detect when you're moving in a motor vehicle, and it will automatically disable notifications to you of incoming calls or incoming SMS messages so that you're not left distracted. The problem is that as users of these smart devices, which we're now horribly addicted to, we have to choose to enable those features in order to avoid that problem. And of course, nobody does, and most of us don't know those features exist. And so what we're asking in our Change.org petition to ask Google and Apple to do is to, instead of making it a feature that you have to enable and opt into, that it should be the default feature so that your device automatically detects that you're moving and automatically disables itself and notifies people who are calling you that you're in a car and that you'll contact them when you stop. And at the same time, that when you choose to disable your device in a moving vehicle, that it prompts you and says you're about to do something quite dangerous, and keeps a log of that.
As you're saying, Klaus, I think it's probably fair to say, as you say, that there isn't awareness that this tech exists already in the operating systems of the phones.
There is no awareness, and the fact that Google and Apple have added it is clear indication that they recognise internationally it's a huge problem. It is the number one safety problem in cars today. All of us see cars swerving all over the road today because people are sitting on their mobile phones not looking at what they're doing. And as I said, I regard that as we have driverless cars today. And, the problem is that, what they've done is enabled a feature that 99.9% of the population doesn't know exists and wouldn't choose to enable it. They wouldn't choose to enable it because we're addicted.
And Klaus, do you understand how it works in terms of knowing the difference between travelling on a train, for example, or travelling on a car?
Yeah, smartphone devices are very good at understanding where you are and how fast you're moving. They do that today by default and naturally. And so these devices know exactly when you're on a road versus on a railway line. And even so, the fact that those things are enabled doesn't mean you can't choose to disable them. If you're a passenger in a vehicle, for example, you can reasonably choose to disable that feature and use your mobile phone as normal. But the important thing is that each person is prompted and reminded that what they're about to do is dangerous and could harm the safety of everybody in their vehicle and those outside the vehicle.
Have you had discussion with these tech companies that you're talking about, Klaus?
I've not been able to get the direct attention of Google or Apple. I mean, they're big companies, but we have over 3,500 signatures on our petition on change.org today, and I'm sure that as momentum builds behind this issue, that Google and Apple will inevitably engage and make what I know is a very, very simple change for them and could save the lives of millions of people around the world and injuries around the world. It's a global problem. It's not a uniquely Australian problem at all.
Certainly. And do you have any concept of why they might be reluctant to do so?
Addiction is addiction, I guess. People. I mean, they are a business and they are seeking to promote the use of their devices. And I suspect they're wanting to provide people with the experience that they think is important. I mean, why do companies continue to have the levels of sugar in soft drink? I'm sure there's some relationship there somewhere. Look, I think it's inevitable that this change will occur. We're wanting it to occur much more quickly and sooner because it is a very, very simple and easy decision for Google and Apple to make.
Klaus, can you point people in the direction of the petition if they'd like to put their hands up alongside you?
So if they go to change.org and look for Google and Apple stop, I'm trying to recall what their title of it is, but stop tragic deaths, they will find the petition. So go to change.org, look for Stop Tragic Deaths, Google and Apple, and they will find the petition. They'll be able to sign and share it.
I just jumped on really quickly to double check, and you're absolutely right. So Google and Apple : Stop Tragic Deaths. But I guess if you search for those 3 words, Stop Tragic Death, that'll definitely get you there. Okay, Klaus, I really appreciate you letting us know about this this morning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.